Hello guys, welcome back to the YouTube channel. How's it going? It's gonna be another talk sesh. I'm gonna need my wife's help for this one. I need a topic. Meditation, okay. Now meditation, I feel like that should be like a mandatory thing that everybody should do. There's just a mirage of benefits on meditation, particularly like mindfulness meditation, where you're mindful of, I guess, your internal world. And for those who might not understand what that means, that basically just means internal chatter that's always going on in your head. It doesn't have to be necessarily like an actual conversation. It could just be memories, random thoughts, insecurities, anxiety, like just activity. Something that I've learned about meditation, and something that I've learned honestly in just general, like just in my life, is that you're not your thoughts. You're not your insecurities, you're not your fears, you're not your doubts, you're not any of those things. Something that I realized growing up, particularly as a teenager, was that I would feel an insecurity, and out of that insecurity, I would like identify, like the insecurity was a part of me. And like, that's not me, it's not who I am. What does that question even mean? Who are you? I don't think that you can really encapsulate that on something. I feel like, that's a good question. Who are you? I don't know, dude. It could be that you're your personality, like who you are as a character. Like you're more energetic, you're very expressive, you're very organized, very conscientious. But I don't think that, like, in terms of like who you are I don't know if you can really encapsulate that. I think that you just are. You know, I feel like there's interests that people have. I guess you could examine who you are as a character, but the question of who you are, I don't know if that's a question worth asking. There's definitely a benefit to thinking in that way. Well, there's the Stoic saying, know thyself, and that one's a powerful one. That's one that I've used for a while now, and it's crazy because you don't realize that you know yourself until you remind yourself of that saying, know thyself, which basically means like understand who you are. Because most of us, we walk around this world acting like we know each other, like we know who we are. We're fucking clueless to that. There's people who know us better than us, you know? Like a good example is our moms. Obviously that's not the case for everybody. I don't even know if that's the case for me, but I do know that when I ask myself questions like, why does this bother you? And I'm asking it like I don't know it, and it's partially because I actually don't know it. It's like something could be bothering me, and I'll ask myself the question like, why does that bother you? And then the end conclusion would be something that I just didn't know, and that's part of me. That feeling derived from me, and I wasn't aware of it, but now I am. So it's crazy because I feel like the better you're able to understand yourself, the better you're able to navigate the world, because you know, oh, I'm gonna react like that, probably want to set things in this way in my life so that when I do get to that point, I can, you know, there's countless quotes on this very topic, on this very issue of just people having the lack of awareness of who they are as a person, like who they are, like understanding who they are. There's a quote that said something along the lines of like, it's easier to rule a city than it is to rule yourself. I mean, dude, it says it right in the quote. The real reason I like to meditate, and the way I meditate, is just I focus on my breathing. So and there was a point a couple months ago where I was doing that an hour a day. One of the main reasons I like meditating is because of it's basically working out, but for the brain. What I mean by that is I feel like my attention muscle is getting worked out. It's like I'm putting in the reps. Every inhalation I focus on, every exhalation I focus on. It's like my attentional muscle is getting stronger. And dude, attention is everything. Attention is the portal to understanding. It's the portal to learning. Like, you won't be able to learn something unless you pay attention, you focus on it. And that's the same thing even with like sports. You're trying to learn a new boxing combination, you're gonna have to pay attention to the errors that you're doing. Or if it's basketball, you have to pay attention on how to, I don't know, just how to do the moves, how to do the drills, how to do, I guess, etc. You have to lock into what you're doing. And the better you're at doing that, the better, in my opinion, you are at learning. And that's my whole thing. I want to grow. Somebody said something along the lines of like, if you're not growing, you're going downhill. And that's true. Like, there's no in between. You're not in this like in between zone. You're literally either going up or you're going down. I don't have life figured out, obviously. I'm a very young kid, but even with that understanding, I'm not gonna sit on my shit. And my aim is headed up. Like, my aim is at a life that is good, that is heavenly, you could say. And it feels good. It feels good when you're striving towards something. It feels good to exert yourself to something that is good. Obviously, something that you can manage. I'm not saying place this a hard lifestyle on yourself so that you can grow. No, I'm not. First of all, I'm not telling anybody to do anything. I'm not in no position to do that. I'm just sharing what I think about things. That is it. That is all I'm doing here. But yeah, meditation, I find it to be just an attentional exercise. It's an exercise I could do to build that attentional muscle. And the reason I want to build that attentional muscle is because I can derive more enjoyment out of life. Because a lot of the suffering, in my opinion, is from, honestly, a lack of attention. You don't attend to something for long enough to fix it, to find a resolution, to try to come up with, just shit. You don't have that. You don't have that skill. Many people don't have that skill, and it's partially because of the phones, partially because of the way social media is structured, the way they've engineered social media. It's honestly just like going to a casino and you're like, oh, there goes a dopamine hit. Wow, that's very nice, and that's basically what TikTok is. That's what scrolling is. That's what YouTube is. And obviously, I think all these things are okay in moderation. And it's hard to moderate that shit because it's highly addictive. It's so engaging. I mean, dude, you have to either distance yourself, like completely deprive yourself of that shit so that it doesn't, affect your psyche as much as it has. And then just, I don't know, just build a better relationship with it. I honestly don't know, but I feel like it's okay in moderation. I think drinking, I think alcohol, I think weed, all that stuff is okay. Until it starts to get to the point where it's affecting other parts of your life, then it's something to consider because it's starting to have a negative impact. It's not just a thing that you're doing. It's a thing that you're doing that's negatively impacting other parts of your life. So that might be the main reason as to why I meditate. But one of the other reasons I meditate is because I get better at being in the present moment. As cliche as that sounds, I know that sounds cliche as fuck. So many people say that, like being in the present moment, but it's more than that. It's just being now, being in now, like being in this now state, like whatever is happening, being now. Which is funny because if you just think about life and how it just plays out, things are typically okay. Like until you fucking until you die, until some fucked up shit, like until you get punched in the face, you're typically okay. Like your body is okay, your reality is okay, but the difference is what's going on in here throughout that process. Dude, I've been trying to train this thing because it's the most important thing. It's the only thing I have. If all my money goes away, if the closest people I love die, if things like that happen, like I know that at the end of the day, this is all I have. My mind, that's all I have. It's almost like this. Your mind is a lens as to how you see life. It's a perspective. And if that perspective isn't good, then the decisions in which you make within that perspective are gonna be good either. And it's really hard, especially if you have a proclivity to be a fucking lazy fuck. I definitely deal with that. And I set these things in my life like working out, meditating, writing, reading, talking to my lady, like actively trying to talk to her, listening to podcasts, listening to educational videos, learning new stuff, getting better at communicating, getting better at articulating my thoughts, just heading in the direction of good. All of those things are like anchors to my being. Like they keep me in a good mind state. They keep me like well. They keep me from going wild because I'm a wild guy. I really am. And if I don't have those things in order, like I start to, I'm not gonna say that I'm gonna start fucking going ape shit, but my energy is off. My behavior is off. I'm more susceptible to things that are bad for me. Like all of these things start to come when I don't have these, I suppose you could say, healthy things in place. And so, yeah, guys, that's it for today. This was a nice little talk sesh. Hey, I like talking about stuff. I realized that I still have like camera shy. I can't like fully express myself. I need to be okay with that because this is only the beginning. I need to remind myself like, hey, like think about all the greatest YouTubers and go to the oldest videos they have. Typically, they're not as good as the ones that they have now. And so that's the approach that I'm trying to take. Like I'm trying to be graceful with, suppose you could say, my performance. because it kind of feels like that. I need to like turn that off. Like, just be yourself, Jair. Just be yourself. And it's hard to do that shit. It's hard to be authentic. Oh, it's so hard. And it makes sense. Like, back in the hunter-gatherer days, being authentic might have meant death, because if you were authentic and you were annoying fuck, they might have just kicked you out of the tribe, and that meant you fended for yourself, and that meant the likelihood of you not surviving. So yeah, guys, that's it for today's video. Bye.